Hello, in this presentation we will talk about payroll options within QuickBooks Online. Here we are on the QuickBooks Online dashboard. We will be continuing with the Get Great Guitars. If you're following along with us, that's great. If not, that's okay. We will be discussing payroll. We're going to scroll down over here to the left-hand side and go to the Employees section as we talk about payroll. Payroll is going to be one of those things that there's a lot of different options to, and as a small business or any business, we typically get a lot of offers about different types of payroll, different payroll options from both if we're using QuickBooks, as well as outside people such as ADP or Paychex and other types of people that specialize in companies that specialize within payroll. We're going to talk a little bit about some of these options, but what we really want to do here is just know what these different options are and some of the pros and cons. And it's one of those decisions you want to spend some time with because payroll can be a very time-consuming thing. And it's also one of those things that if we get it wrong, it can cause a lot of problems at the end of the year. And we want to make sure that we're getting all of our withholdings correct and all that correctly done. So there's going to be an option within QuickBooks. In order to do that, we'll need the paid option in some way. It's going to be a type of add-on within the program that will allow us different paid options. There's pros and cons to that. Even within the QuickBooks system, there will be some different options we'll take a look at within the QuickBooks system. But one of the pros, of course, is that we have all the information in one system, and therefore it's all tied together. We don't have to enter a journal entry from somebody else into the system or anything like that. The downside is, of course, that we are then handling our own payroll, and we have varying degrees of support in doing that. And the payroll process can get complex, even with a fairly limited amount of employees, depending on the country and the state that we're in. If we're in the U.S., of course, all the U.S. has the same U.S. taxes for payroll taxes, but every state has their own different state taxes. And if we have multi-state or multi-country, then it gets very complex. But even if we're in the same state, it's still a bit complex depending on how many employees we have. So therefore, it's good to get some support on the payroll, possibly pick the more advanced payroll settings if needed. And it's also a good option to note that there are third-party softwares that specialize in payroll that are pretty good at this now. And there's pros and cons there. There's going to be something like Paychex is a third-party not related to QuickBooks. I'm not promoting them or anybody else, but it's one of the third parties, as well as ADP is another third party that would specialize in payroll. Pros and cons there is that they, of course, specialize in payroll and therefore are used to handling the issues that will come up, the different kind of litigation laws that will come out related to payroll. The cons are that we're going to have to integrate whatever they do somehow into our system, because obviously we're actually paying the payroll check and we have to record the withholdings and whatnot into our system somehow in order to report the proper financial statements and taxes at the end of the year. So we still have to, even if we're using a third-party software, which can be very nice because they allow us to print the payroll or do the payroll, process the payroll, get everything set up, it still needs to be integrated into our system, our QuickBooks system in some way, maybe just through a journal entry to do that. So those are some of the pros and cons. These are third-party software. If we go back to QuickBooks, the options for setting up, if we go here and we haven't set up payroll yet, then if we go to the Get Started, it's going to set up payroll. We could try to enter employees without payroll and go through that process, and we'll take a look at adding employees later, but right now, we're going to say Get Started. We're not going to actually purchase any of the payrolls right now. We're just going to take a look at the options. Options can change over time, but we'll look at what we have at this point. We have the automatic tax calculation. If we scroll down, we see some of the options here. We have the monthly fee, and it's going to be a plus $2 per employee, so it will go up by the employees that we will have. The benefit here, of course, is that we have the automatic tax calculation, meaning that when we put the information into the payroll system, it's going to calculate those payroll taxes, those withholdings such as federal income tax, Social Security, and Medicare, and hopefully the state taxes as well, so that we can get those withholding calculations correct. So here's going to be some of the options. You can compare the options to the more full service. Some of the full service options will actually basically do the printing of the checks and give some guarantees. We see the differentiating options going to be down here between these two systems being let us file and pay taxes for you based on paychecks you enter, so we can have more of a full service there with the more expensive option. Get set up with U.S. exports, so it's easy to switch providers. Run your payroll with live help from U.S. experts, so we'll have some more support. Be protected with your penalty-free guarantee. This could add some value. What we really want to not happen is to not be in a situation where we're not paying an employee's taxes. So as long as we're making sure that we're paying the withholdings that we're taking from the employee's wages and paying those, would be possibly worth a guaranteed option. So if we go back up here, we have the unlimited payroll, and we can check off some more of these options. We got the free 24-hour service. We've got the Run Payroll Mobile, and then these items, when we click on these, we'll switch over to I want payroll done for me. Experts handle the setup process. That could be very useful if you haven't gone through the setup process, because that's where usually the problems are, getting the first setup organized. Once the setup is organized, if it's set up in such a way that we know how we're going to run things, running things from that point forward, at least issuing the checks, is fairly more standard. Then, of course, we have the quarterlies at the end of the month and the yearlies at the end of the year forms, documentation, 940s and 941s that we will have to process, as well as W-2s and W-3s and whatnot. So we got taxes paid, filed for you, and then we've got the guarantee here, which of course would be part of the more expensive premium platform plan.